All right, let us get off that background and turn off my overlay. This is a live show. I'm switching it live. I am here live. My name is Anthony Barogas. I am here for Yolo Live. And today we are doing our Tech Talk Wednesdays. Today, as you can probably guess, we're talking cameras. And I thank you all for being here. I thank all the viewers for chiming in. And as always, your comments, Facebook or YouTube, can be brought into the show. So if you have questions, it doesn't have to be about cameras. We're just going to be talking about cameras today as a general topic. But if you have questions, throw them into the chat on Facebook or YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, know that there is a very good YOLO Live Tech channel where a lot of people are watching this, and there are lots of tutorials there, both on the YoloBox, the InStream, and YoloCast. If you are watching on YouTube and don't already know about the official YOLO Live user group, this is a fantastic group on Facebook that not only has a lot of very active and participatory users who are willing to help and answer questions, but the YOLO Live team from China are actively involved in there, asking questions and answering questions. And if they can't answer your question, you also have the support@yololive.com email that you can send your question to. This is going to be a very challenging show, and if it all goes catastrophically wrong, it is because I have 8 cameras connected at this moment, not counting this one that's just sitting on the table as an example. I have 8 cameras, 2 YOLO boxes, and an ATEM mixer, so I'm hoping today's show goes great, but if ever a show is going to catastrophically fail because I'm asking too much of these devices, this would be the show. So I am going to apologize early if it does just crash out because I just have way too much going on. All 4 of these cameras are connected, as well as that camera. This USB camera I use for InStream because it's rotated, and I have my overhead camera, which you can see right here, where I have my YoloBox original currently hooked up. And in the original, I have my ATEM, so I can switch between the iPhone, which is not on. I should turn it on because we're going to talk about cameras. Face ID. Yay, that worked. Haha. So there's my iPhone over there, hello. And then I have my camcorder over here. I wave my hand in front of that. And my DSLR. See if that one is still up and running. Yes, that one is still up and running. So we have all of those cameras up and running so that I can show you these cameras, and I have a webcam here as well. But if you saw the Hawaii show, you saw this webcam, and that's one of the nice things, as pointed out by one of our viewers. Let's go scroll back up. It Never Gets Old says, the fact that the YoloBox handles both HDMI and UVC input is very useful for a portable unit. Yes. And also on my own personal YouTube channel, which is Aiba Tech Thoughts, if you were looking at that, I just did a video about cases, and got it. If let's go to yeah, I got so much stuff to switch between, I almost don't even know where things are. So the laptop is yellow. Yellow comes in. Yellow doesn't come in anywhere because I disconnected yellow because I got too many cameras. So the laptop I can't show you. So anyway, I did a video on bags, and I showed that I actually can put this camera in the bag with the YoloBox Pro and power cabling and everything else. And so I literally have the Pro and the camera in a tiny little portable bag. It's just very cool. Again, that is a very good thing. Fadila Studio says, hello to Fadila Studio. And again, I love hearing where people are viewing from. Just put it in the comments. We'll throw it up there. We get viewers around the world. India, Greece, Italy, Spain, England, Hawaii, Canada, America, South America. It goes all the way around the world. Let us scroll to the top. And It Never Gets Old says he's watching from Shoreview, Minnesota. Thank you. He also says, interesting topic today. In my studio, I have a PTZ camera on the road with the YoloBox. I use everything from the Osspot PTZ to camcorders to iPhones, different tools for different situations. Yes, and that is the key. People always ask, what's the best camera to use with my YoloBox? There is no best camera. It doesn't exist. There is no best camera. The best camera you need for you is the camera that works for your particular need. If I'm just going to stand here and talk, a webcam can work. But if I need to follow sports, soccer players or football everywhere else, football, soccer, players on a field, I need a camera with a long zoom that I could zoom in and follow stuff and slowly make a picture tighter and wider and pan and tilt and everything. That's not a webcam. So different tools for different needs. David McFly says he's watching from Harlem. Thank you for Harlem. Chris Knows Homes podcast says watching from Gilbert, Arizona. Good to see you. Story Gum says greetings from Chicago. Ronaldo says, when will the YoloMax update firmware to rotate like YoloBox? Good question. I don't know. That would be a question for the forum. Again, I'm an independent producer based in Texas, USA, and I make tutorial videos in English for the YoloBox, but I'm not on the engineering team, so I don't have the ability to know what's coming. Although they have said they're putting the brakes on new updates and new features for a while, and they're going to go back and update the code and streamline it and really focus on bug fixes for at least the first quarter of 2023. I have a question. You're going live. Can you also record to a Samsung T7 SSD? I don't use YoloCast, but if I go live to Facebook and YouTube using the multi-stream, I don't see a record option. You don't see a record option if you're using ASP. The ASP uses the SD card as the cache. If you're not using ASP, which is the protocol where it actually caches a minute or so of video on your YoloBox and then transfers the data to a cache in the cloud, so that if all of a sudden your data goes away for like 30 seconds and then comes back, it's just going to push all that data and the viewers will never see it. ASP is a great protocol, but it uses the memory card to do that caching on the YoloBox. So if you're using ASP, then you can't also use the same card to record. I mean, you are using the card to record the stream, but it's a buffer. So it's constantly feeding in and playing out from that card. There's a lot going on in the background there. So if you don't need to use ASP, turn ASP off, and then you can record, because I am recording and I have recorded every show as well as streamed it from the YoloBox Pro. That's what it does. And even the original YoloBox will stream and record at the same time. This opening song is amazing. Well, I can't take credit for it. It's actually, I think, from YouTube or Facebook. They offer free music for creators, whereby you can utilize their music so that you don't get hit with a copyright. So that is where that music comes from. El Gusto de las 12. I don't know what 12 is in Spanish. I just bought a YOLO Live Mini thinking I was going to be able to live stream to Instagram and TikTok, and no. Any plans to add that option to the Mini? That's actually another thing. The answer generally is no, because the in-stream is the vertical box. I have the in-stream over there, and I'm kind of pinned in here with cameras, so I apologize. I'm not as fluid as I normally am. The in-stream is the vertical device, and the reason why it is a separate device is because the entire operating system is designed vertically. And on it, you run Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube Reels. All of that works vertically. So the interface of the operating system is designed to show you tall video. And to maximize that space, you only use the device vertically. And the video titles are designed so that the titles aren't 1920 across. They're only 1080 across, and they're much taller. Everything about the app is completely different. The way it shows you the mixer is tall on the right versus the video, which is on the left. It kind of has the same layout, but it's a tall layout, not a wide layout. So it's not just that, oh, we're going to put tall video on a wide device. It doesn't work that way because everything about it is designed specifically for vertical streaming. And whereas the YoloBox pushes through YOLO Live multicasting, the in-stream hooks into Instagram and TikTok so that you're actually running those apps on the device. It's a mobile device per the terms of service. And then when that app asks for the camera, the YoloBox or the YOLO software that does all the mixing in front of that hands the output to that app. So there's a lot going on that is completely different than how the YoloBox works. So they are two completely different boxes, and you're not going to see, I'm not part of the engineering team, but I really don't think you're going to see vertical on the YoloBox, and you're not going to see horizontal on the in-stream. They are two different tools, like these cameras, two different tools for two different tasks. Where can I get one of those hoodies? Great question to ask in the Facebook user group because I'm doing these videos for YOLO Live. They actually provided this for me. Branding, you know. But I agree, they should be available. They should be part of swag. I would love to give them out every week. Anthony has the Back to the Future flux capacitor connected as well. Almost. I have so much that, you know, I need 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. That's what the in-stream is for. Okay, El Gusto says he's watching from New York. Harold says he's watching from Greensboro, North Carolina. Do you have special colors for your camera wires? I actually did a video on this on my channel as well. And this one is white. This one is green. That one is actually, I think, unmarked. Yeah, that one is oh, wait. That one is purple. Yes, I actually purchased, I can get that. Now you're not going to see them all because I did green screen. I actually purchased a stack of tape. So this one's white, yellow, orange, and then down here is light green and dark green, purple. I purchased all of these tapes. These are masking tape to color code each of the video cables as I go from, like, where does the red one go? And I can easily find the red one. Whereas otherwise, they are all black. Every video cable is black. Every HDMI cable is black, and it drives me nuts because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have at least 10 cables here. And knowing where 11. I have 11 cables here. So knowing where they go just by looking at color, the laptop is yellow, and if I don't see yellow going anywhere, I can't use the laptop. So yes, I do have color coded them. Although the masking tape is not a great solution. That's an update to the video I did because it slowly starts to peel off. It's not super sticky. It's not sticky enough. Watching from Motown. Love your stream Wednesdays. Thank you, Leo. Chris Knows Holmes, thank you for the great answer. You're welcome. I'm glad I could help you. I will test turning off ASP. Yes, that's the key thing. Your ability to record goes away when you use ASP. And that, I think I covered all of the questions that are here. Again, this is a Q&A show. So if you have any additional questions, throw them in. And with that, I will start talking about cameras. Around me today, I have a Sony Handycam with a zoom lens. I have a DSLR, which is a GH4. I like these. I actually have 5 of them. Specifically because we do multi-camera live switched video. And having multiple cameras that all match is key. So when you switch between them, it all looks like it's supposed to, like it's one thing. And so I already had 2 for the production I did, and then another studio had moved up to Sony box cameras, and they were selling off their GH4s, so I bought 3 more. So I have 5 of them now. So that's where that comes from. Right here, I have the Logitech C920, which I actually unplugged from the original YoloBox because it was taking too much processing power. And over here, I have an iPhone. And if you saw the Live in Hawaii show, the iPhone was my primary camera. And all I'm doing is I'm using this little, whoops, scroll around this way. I'm using this little Apple dongle that takes, you can power the phone. I'm not. It actually seems to work without external power. It takes lightning and gives you HDMI. And the nice thing about the iPhone, and I've done 2 videos on using well, I did one video on using cell phones as wireless cameras. And you cannot transmit from the camera Wi-Fi directly to the YoloBox, but Apple does let you share the screen to an Apple TV receiver. And you can get older HD Apple TV receivers for like $30 in the US. And that means you could just plug that into your YoloBox HDMI, and this thing can walk around and be a wireless camera. But the really nice thing with the iPhones, especially this is a 12 Pro, is it's got 3 lenses in it. So it's like I'm carrying around an interchangeable lens camera with a telephoto, a normal, and a super wide. And I have the ability to use each of those lenses. So let me iPhone, bring that up here, and no, that's not it. HDMI 2. All right, this one's having a little trouble. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take that out. I'm going to plug it back in. Here it comes. And we'll see if that comes up. There we go. No, it comes back up with the same screen. So I am going to exit that. There we go. And then I'm going to go back in monitor mode. As I said, this is I'm pushing all of these devices to their limit. So, okay, that is, yes, there we go. So, oh, and I have to turn off program out. There we go. Now, you can see here that I have the iPhone, and I can switch between, that's the super wide. So I could be like really close to it, and it's still got a very large field of view. And then I could go to the normal lens, and that's as high as the stand goes. And here you go, you've got a normal lens, and this looks great. This is like the best lens on there. And then you've got the telephoto. Tap. There we go. And now it's a little too close for what we're doing here, but you get the idea. The iPhone has those 3 lenses in it, so you're able to pick a lens, you know, so if you want to have a big shot of the whole thing, you can use an iPhone in the wide lens. If you want to use the iPhone and have a shot of a 1 shot or a 2 shot, you use the middle lens. If you want to have a solo shot just on the one person, you can use telephoto. And as you can see on here, I actually have a moment case, and I could use a moment telephoto on here and you get even 2 more X out of it. So I can take that telephoto and push in a little more with the moment lens, the 58mm, I think they call it. Although that doesn't, 58mm, it's just like this random number. And that is a great way that, plus, it's super easy to carry along because it's so small and it runs for hours on the built-in battery. Just turn down the screen, you know, the brightness on the screen, and this thing is going to run for hours. So iPhone is a great solution. Also, when I was in Hawaii, I had a big disparity of color or brightness. I was kind of on a patio in the dark, and outside next to me was the beach, and it was being hit by the sun directly, and the iPhone is able to, like, you know, really balance those colors. So the beach wasn't blown out and I wasn't too dark. It actually had good color on both. So there's a whole lot of processing going on the image on the iPhone that other cameras don't do. They just give you the image straight. They don't sit there and, you know, darken the skies and brighten the dark parts and find a face and make sure you can see the face. These cameras don't do that. The iPhone does. The webcam, let's see, how should I do this? I'll put it back into the original YoloBox here, and it'll be stuttery, but do here. Yes, I know the USB takes more than usual processing power. So here we go, and you can see the webcam, it's not the best. It's good in a pinch. You can actually see it focus. This one actually has focusing. And here it goes, it gets kind of stuttery because I've got all the inputs on the original YoloBox plugged in and going. So it's actually asking a bit much of the original YoloBox. It's best just for 2 HDMIs. It's useful in a pinch. You know, again, it's like an extra camera you can carry with you and just have a wide shot of something. Let's just say you were doing sports. You could actually have your main camera and then put the Logitech on top, because this one's got a 1/4-20 thread, which is how I've got it mounted on this tripod. And you can put this one on top. So every time I need to cut to a wide shot, I've got my wide shot with this, and then I can cut back to the close-up of this one. So I can actually do like a 2-camera switch with the Logitech and the big camera with the Mini, you know, and just have the little YoloBox Mini right here on the arm, and I could switch between the 2 camera angles, you know, coming from the 2 different cameras, all on one tripod, and be streaming directly out of it with titles and scoreboards and everything. That's the magic of the YoloBox, is that all of this stuff is built in. Oh, I see. Can I delay video in YoloBox Pro direct cable and HDMI transmitter? No, there's not a timing adjustment in the YoloBox Pro to match direct connected and transmitted video. There's not. That's just the way it is. Does YoloCast 15-day trial have all the bells and whistles of premium plan, or is it limited? As far as I know, the trial is full featured, and then if you don't pay for a plan, your feature set is reduced down to the free services, which is, excuse me, you can do titles through there. You can set up events and shows through YoloCast. And right now, the bonding in the United States is part of is a free beta. So you would get that. But eventually, as I mentioned previously, the bonding takes a lot of resources on both the sending and the receiving end, to pay for computers to take all these things and put them back in order and then do all that. To pay for that computer, the programming, the processing, the electricity, the place to put it, the cooling of that place, etc. All that costs money. So debonding, as I put it, essentially needs to cost money, because there's stuff being done. I know that only 3 platforms are allowed to stream through the YoloBox Pro. How many YouTube platforms can be added in YoloBox Pro? Good question. Good question. I haven't tried. I've done 2. I've done YouTube directly to RTMP. I'm sorry, YouTube through the YouTube program, or the YouTube connection SDK. The YouTube SDK, you know, where you click on the little YouTube thing, and then, you know, it automatically connects and say, what page do you want? You know, do you want it public or profile? Or, you know, that is the built-in, you know, part of YouTube. And then I've done a second one via RTMP. And I know, because I've tested it, I can do multiple RTMPs. So maybe YouTube, and YouTube, or, you know, because it would be YouTube, RTMP, and RTMP. You could do that. Or you could leverage YoloCast to go up to 15, which is a crazy amount. Or a third-party service like Caster or Restream. But the nice thing with YoloCast is it's got a hook in the Pro already. So that's a nice thing. The resolution options, 1080, 720, disappear after going live in YoloBox. What should be done to resolve this? Well, after you go live, you can't change, because that setting is handed off to the content delivery network, so it knows what you're trying to do. It's this cascade of data. So you can't change gears and, you know, suddenly shift to 720p. That's not a changeable thing. Just like you can't change your data rate once you start sending. You know, you've told the encoder, okay, you are going to work, and then once it starts working, it's working. It's busy. It's doing something. You can't, you know, change it. So you would need to stop the stream, or I've done it a couple times, pause the stream, and then you could get those settings back. But yes, you are correct. Once you start the stream, that goes away. And the same if you're just in monitor mode. Once you start recording, you can't change the settings of the recording while you're doing the recording. It's like trying to change the tire of a wheel of a car that you're driving in. And I know there are people who have done it to fancy things, but in general, you know what I mean. Alexandros. Hello, all. Hello to you. Where's everybody watching from? If you signed in late, I'd love to see where everybody's chiming in from. If you haven't already told me, I know a bunch of people said in the beginning where they're watching from, but I'd love to hear where in the world are you watching from? Let us take a break here, and I'm just going to say my name is Anthony Barocas. I'm here for YOLO Live. We've been here about a half hour, and today we're talking cameras. I already talked about the iPhone and the webcam. We're going to talk about these two guys in a minute, and today's show is also a question and answer show, as every live show is, because we are live. You are watching this live. I'm listening to you live, so if you ask me a question, I can answer it live. So that's the magic of this. If you're watching on Facebook, there is a YouTube channel called YOLO Life Tech. Great channel, lots of tutorial stuff and everything that you can get up to speed and also review what you thought you know about the YoloBox Pro, the YoloBox Original, the Mini, the InStream, and YoloCast. Lots of things about YoloCast on there as well. If you are watching on YouTube and aren't already a member, there is the official YOLO Live user group on Facebook. I can see this is starting to slow down a little bit. So again, I'm going to say, because I have 8 cameras here, that if things go catastrophically wrong, I apologize. It's just because I am pushing these things to the breaking point today. I am recording and streaming to multiple destinations, as well as every input is in use. So there's probably not a lot more I could ask it to do other than like remote guests, which we will do in a future show. And lastly, if the user group can't answer your questions, there's always the support@yololive.com email. You can email them directly. And if you're having, let's just say, a crashing issue or something like that, you can actually send a log from that session to YOLO Live's engineers and then send an email to follow up on it. And they can attach like, what were you doing? And what did the YoloBox have a problem with? And then they can figure out what the problem is and fix it. So that's a great way to do that. Let's go back to the comments. Have you ever attached DJI drones to your YoloBox? No, because I don't think the drones could lift it. No, I'm kidding. I know you mean footage. I just thought I would just throw that in there. I have not, but I do know that they do offer a clean HDMI out for external recording. That is what you're going to want to use on the receiving end. Or if you're using a phone, see if you can, find a way to turn off all the overlays on the output of the phone, which I'm using right here with just a little dongle. Looking at a sports cam for Football USA. We are currently using a Sony camera with a 30x zoom and HD along with HDMI mini output. Looking to possibly upgrade. What specs should we be looking for? Kind of sounds like you got it already. A 30x zoom is a long zoom. Now, if anybody watched the Super Bowl, they were all using these big box lenses on there, which have like 50x or 100x. This right here is an 18x. Optical zoom, which has a B4 mount, which is what they use on those big cameras. And I have taken to putting these lenses, this is a monster lens, this has got to be a good 10, 15 pounds, on my DSLR back here. Because I wanted the ability to smoothly zoom on a DSLR, which is why I still have camcorders in my arsenal. Because if I switch to the camcorder here, and there, sorry, I got to switch like multiple things, 3 different things. So this is my camcorder here. And let's see, let's do this one. This is my camcorder here. And I can, with the remote here, I can, slowly zoom in. Or if I come back out, I can quickly. So it's got multiple speeds. That's one of the key things is that, and even more if I do it on top of the handle here, I get a little bit faster. And I think I probably also get something a little bit slower maybe. Let's try it. See if, yeah, there you go. So you can slowly zoom. And the really nice thing with that is it allows you to change the image so that one person's running, and then as more players get involved, you can expand what the shot looks like and then, bring it down to 1 and then expand it again. Basketball, hockey, soccer, they all need the same thing. And if you watch any sporting event and you watch the the professionals do the broadcast, you're going to see the same exact thing as what this does. People are like, DSLRs are the best. Yeah, but they don't do this. They don't have that 30x smooth servo zoom to be able to follow the action. And this is a Z7. It's an older camera, but I keep it around specifically because I can take off the lens that it comes with and I can put this monster on there. And when I do that, I actually get a crop factor. So it's like, being twice as close. And so I can really zoom in. I get this really long zoom lens without having to, have another camera. I just change the lens on this camera. And the DSLR over here is really good for its go-to DSLR. And the DSLR over here is really good for, let me focus it up. It's really good for shallow depth of field stuff. So you can see the background is out of focus. I'm in focus, which is great for talk shows, great for, doing something where you really want to highlight the person speaking clearly, but I apologize, it's not great light here. You want to highlight the person speaking clearly, but you want to isolate them from the background, which the iPhone and the webcam and anything with a small sensor is not going to do. But the DSLR does that. And again, this is a GH4. This is not a full frame sensor. This is a micro 4/3, but there's tons of lenses out there. And these are super affordable. I purchased 3 of them for $300 each. Ooh, that was interesting. Don't touch the cable while you're doing it. Great question. I also have a DJI Magic Pro 2. Yeah, thank you very much. Kansas City, Missouri. Going to Kansas City, France, but I'm Greek. Mumbai, India is chiming in there. Thank you very much. Jules says, can the YoloBox Pro record an incoming HDMI signal to an external SD drive attached through USB? Yes. Thank you for the answer. Really satisfied with my Yolo Max purchase. Wow, you got a Yolo Max? I just had the InStream. The Max is the 24-inch tablet, the really big thing. Oh, sorry, I still got that other camera up there. The Max is the really, really big thing that sits on an easel. What are you using for an overhead shot in this live? I am using an AIDA HDMI camera. So when I go to that, this is the AIDA camera up above me. It's an HDMI camera that's coming into the YoloBox Pro, which is over here directly. And then I have the A10 Mini switching between the iPhone, camcorder, and DSLR coming over here. And so you see right here, when I switch these, I can go iPhone, I can go camcorder, I can go DSLR, and then the output of my original YoloBox goes into the Pro so that you can see them over here. So you can see camcorder, this is the DSLR. Wait, let's be all moody. Here we go. This is the DSLR. And this is the camcorder. So we can zoom out, we can zoom in. And it's on autofocus, so I can get super tight in there. And the other nice thing about camcorders that you won't find with DSLRs is that camcorders are designed for zooming lenses, whereas zoom lenses on a DSLR aren't designed to zoom and hold focus. And with this, I can zoom in all the way, get my critical focus, put it in manual focus, zoom out, and it's still in focus. And I can go anywhere in there all day long, and it's going to be perfectly in focus. DSLRs don't do that. They're not designed to do that. They're designed as still cameras. So you zoom in, click focus, zoom out, click focus again, zoom in the middle, click focus again. So there's a limitation. Also, they're not designed to smoothly zoom while doing video. Now you can find some point and shoots that might offer that a little bit, but that's for internal video. And the aperture doesn't stay the same either. So these are designed so that as I zoom all the way in, you don't notice the brightness changing. Whereas the DSLR lens, it'll be a certain brightness, and as you zoom in, it's going to compensate, and it's going to jump down, it's going to jump down, it's going to jump down. Unless you get a manual lens, in which case it's just going to get darker as you go in because they lose light. They have to be engineered to do that, which is what these B4 lenses are. So lastly, I've got this little GoPro camera. Again, if you saw the Hawaii show, I use this as a camera using the HDMI out and USB power in. I was able to, this was my overhead camera to show what was going on the tablet as I was doing things, and I just had it sitting there on the table. Look, let me show you something, and then I put it back down. So these are great as, I mean, I didn't use it in the case because I can't get to the ports. Those are great as tiny little cameras you can bring along, and they're super wide. Some of them you can change the focal length, and it did offer a clean HDMI out, which is also beneficial as well. Christian, hey Christian, good to see you. Thanks for chiming in. Hello from St. Louis. Good, looking good. Christian and I know each other. We're both streaming guys. I'm disappointed the YoloBox Mini can't mix audio signals from jack, HDMI input plus USB. Requires external mixer even in mobility use case. Possibly add in favor cinema products like Atomos and Zato. None of the YoloBoxes will mix USB audio. You can use USB audio or not use USB audio, but you can't mix it with something else. Generally, like I do here, I have my desktop microphone, which is down here, and it goes into my HDMI camera, and I eventually audio follow video will hopefully be disabled by default. And then I disable it manually, and I set, I apologize, I actually have a cold. I woke up this morning wondering whether I was going to do this show or not. But I am flying high on medication right now and drinking lots of water. So we will make it through. But if my voice does not sound 100%, that is why, because I am not 100%. But yes, they do not mix USB audio. I think it's a technical limitation. I'm surprised they mix USB video, dissolves and cuts and everything. So I'm really impressed by that. But as you get the warning whenever you plug the USB cable in, that it uses additional processing power. I don't know why it doesn't break out the audio, but it doesn't. And this Logitech is actually stereo, so that'd be kind of cool to have a stereo sound field and then like a wireless mic going into my camcorder and be able to mix, have that stereo audio kind of quiet for a game, so it really sounds like you're there on the field. That would be kind of cool. How you use your GoPro in a live stream wireless. I used it, if you go through YouTube and look at the live from last week or the week before, I was in Hawaii and I just did it handheld. But you can use it however you want to use it. You can have multiple GoPros all spitting out HDMI, and this one has micro HDMI and USB in here. So I've got a special cable where they're both just wound together, and it's like 6 feet long, and so I could put this on a stand and just be like, hey, I'm talking to you like this. And the picture on this is better than the picture on this, but they're both completely automatic. So if it's too bright, it'll make it dark. If it's too dark, it'll make it too bright. So I really don't like the fact that you can't control a webcam, not even on a computer really. They just sort of decide what to do on their own, and hunt focus all the time. So they're not the best cameras, but they are really, really tiny. So there is that. Digital India asks, does the YoloBox Pro support 5G SIM? No, it does not. These all came out several years ago. 5G has not really been rolled out far enough yet to make use of 5G in these devices. So none of them have 5G modems, hardware inside the device. So you can't also, and again, I'm not an engineer, but as far as I know, they don't have 5G modems in these devices. So you're not going to see with a software update that now it supports 5G. I don't think, they were never touted as 5G devices, so I hope people didn't buy them hoping that they were going to get 5G in some sort of future update. I'll buy it now at 4G, but I'll get 5G, because that was never offered, that was never mentioned, that was never even like written on a web page anywhere. So they don't have 5G, and I really don't think they will ever have 5G. I would think if a new model comes out this year or in the future, that would have 5G capability, just because every cell phone has 5G. So when you're manufacturing a new device from the supplier where you're going to buy the chip that does the cellular, they're almost all going to be 5G capable at this point. So it's, it is sort of almost harder to do another 4G only device, because those companies that make the chips are all just spitting out billions of 5G modems for all the cell phones in use around the world. Watching from South Africa. Thank you. Good to have you here. What do you use for your main camera on your lives? I am using a Sony ZV-1, and you can easily tell that because when I hold something up, it rack focuses right to it. And when I put it down, it comes right back to me. This thing is fantastic. I actually love this camera. It's a tiny little thing. It gives you, you can't see it because I just have a green background, but it actually has a little bit of soft background, which helps key out the green screen, which is behind me. If I go to here, this is actually the shot from the ZV-1 without the green screen. You can see this camera is out of focus because it's focused on my face. So the Logitech, which is less than a foot in front of me, 12 inches, 24 centimeters, is soft. And the Lumix behind me is a little soft too. So this ZV-1 actually gives me a little bit of softness on the background, which is great for green screen because it hides all the little dust and whatever particles that might get on there and makes it easy to key. So the here's the ZV-1. I have it in full manual. So it's a manual iris, manual shutter, manual gain, ISO. And it is great. It is compact. It's got the flip out screen so you can actually flip around in front of you. It's got the microphone array, but I am using a directional mic down in front of me, and it just sits there on my mount right above the monitor. So when I look down, I'm looking at a monitor that shows me the various content. So the ZV-1 is my main camera. The AIDA is my overhead camera. I have another ELP USB camera that I purchased from Amazon with a variable focal length lens. So you can zoom on it just like I can zoom on the overhead one. But it's not parfocal like this lens and this lens are. So when I change the zoom, then I have to refocus, and I change the zoom again and I have to refocus. So sometimes I just want it really tight on the product. Sometimes I want to include two products. So I can change how wide these lenses are. But then every time I do that, I have to refocus the lens carefully because this thing's on an arm and it bounces a little bit. So those lenses are C-mount lenses, and they don't, I'm going to guess, unless you're doing like film work and have a C-mount lens from a Bolex or something like that, or an old film camera, the C-mount lenses are not parfocal. If you're using these little, what they call machine vision lenses, they're meant to be pointed at one spot, focus, set, and then there's little thumb screws to lock it down so the vibration doesn't move it. Hello, Anthony. I want to use a Canon DSLR camera and it doesn't have clean HDMI output. What should I use to make it work on a YoloBox Pro? A camera that has clean output. Yeah, it's one of those things where using the right tool for the job. Not every camera offers you clean HDMI output. You could use the crop feature in the Pro to, like if there's data at the top of the frame and data at the bottom of the frame, you could crop in a little bit. I'm trying to do this with my hands. And then just use this part of the frame as your camera view. If you have the Pro, you can only do the crop feature in the Pro. Hopefully it comes to the Mini soon. It is not going to come to the original YoloBox because, again, that YoloBox was made in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 6 years ago. So we're not going to be asking the 6-year-old YoloBox to be doing more features. YoloBox Pro or LiveView Solo, which is the best live streaming? They're two completely different things. Which is the best for live streaming? If you want to be able to do everything in one box, YoloBox Pro. If all you need is a streaming encoder that can do bonding with multiple cellular connections, then the LiveView is the better choice, because The YoloBox does not do multiple cellular connections. And the live view doesn't do anything but encoding. The YoloBox does everything else, and it does a lot. So if you need anything more than encoding, you're looking at a YoloBox. Is there a way to create a live streaming template so that we don't have to do everything every time? That one seems easy. Literally create a template. Yes, and that's what I do with the show. And I can show you that. Let's go to the, oh, I am on the right one. So let me go back over here and turn off this. So now you're looking at the output of the original YoloBox. And we're going to exit that event. And you see the 3 dots up there on the top of each thing. Actually, you know what? Let me create a picture-in-picture. I'm using them both. How am I using them both? Go back. Oh, okay. Anyway, so you see those 3 dots at the top right of each box? If you touch those 3 dots, you can duplicate. So once you create a streaming event, which you can use just for recording if you wanted to, once you create a streaming event, you can duplicate it. And when you duplicate it and you say, great, event number 2. Well, you know, excuse my spelling. Create. Now I've created a new event with all of the media and the presets and everything from the original event. Now I'm going to say that with a caveat in that I have been doing this and it doesn't bring over all of the settings from the original event. So in the original event, it'll bring over my graphics, any music I have attached to my graphics, my destinations and things like that. But audio follows video will still turn itself back on. I still have to go in and turn on those specific destinations I want it to go to, because maybe you want to have this one go to Facebook and YouTube and another day just YouTube. So you have to turn them on individually. They don't automatically all turn on directly. And that's kind of because when you create an event on the YoloBox, let's just say the YoloBox Pro, like I do for this show every week, it also reverts back to one destination. And if you were on YouTube, you might have been confused because it showed 2 different lives. And the reason that is because I didn't realize that. So I said, okay, duplicate my event. Okay, got a new event, type in the thing, type in the description. Great. Go into the thing, turn on YouTube. Yes, this is great. Turn on Facebook. No, you can't turn on Facebook because you only have the single destination selected. So then I go over to the settings, turn on multiple destinations, and I go back. Now YouTube has turned itself off and I turn it back on. Well, it actually created an event from the first time I did it, and now it's creating another event from the second time I did it. So there was 2 events, and only when I went live did I was able to figure out which one was the correct event for the show. So there's several little nuances that don't carry over, but all of my titles, all of my camera inputs, all of my picture-in-pictures, all of my graphics settings attached to the music and all that stuff, all of that carries over. So I don't have to make any of that again every week. I just duplicate the event and, you know, go in and change those things. But most of the other stuff, so it really does still, even with those little nuances that it doesn't carry over, it still does save a ton of time from having to recreate every title in there. All my titles, you know, when I come over here and I say, hey, you know, my name is, I made this weeks ago, and it just keeps getting carried from show to show to show. And when I tell you the YouTube channel, this just gets carried from show to show to show. And this gets carried from show to show to show. And this one gets carried from show to show to show. So eventually all of those will fade off, I hope. But all those graphics get carried over when I duplicate a show. So as well as the timings, the fact that each of them is set to automatically fade after 10 seconds, all that is saved. I don't have to recreate any of that, or the position, or the font, or anything. That is all carried. So that saves a lot of time in doing that. Sony PXW-Z90 camcorder, please. How is for live streaming? Probably great. I haven't used that one. There are tens of thousands of cameras out there I haven't used. I don't have a Sony DSLR. I've never had a Sony DSLR. I don't have a Sony box camera. I don't have a Sony DSLR. There's lots of cameras I've never had or used, so I can't speak to how good that camera is. I don't want to offer an opinion and wrongly guide someone based on guesswork or making it up. I will tell you when I don't know because I feel that's more honest. I don't know. Thanks. Saw this picture of mixing USB and other audio input sources on other similar Android-based products. So I was asking if aggregation was possible with a firmware update. Worth raising that to the devs. Possibly. You know, on the Pro, it may have the hardware chutzpah to be able to handle mixing USB audio. And I would be curious what other Android devices you've seen that are small tablets that have HDMI inputs that you could mix multiple devices from. Because I've been doing streaming media for a long time. I also write for Streaming Media Magazine. You can look up my content there. And I've never seen one until the YoloBox. So ZV-1 is awesome. I use the same. And just for everyone who doesn't know this camera, they actually came out with a new version of the camera that is a little bit cheaper. It's like $150 cheaper. I would not get it. The ZV-1, excuse me. The ZV-1 is the one to get because it has an optical zoom. The other one has a fixed lens camera. And it offers a little bit of a digital zoom. Forget that. And there's a couple other features that I can't think of off the top of my head, but the optical zoom that's how I'm able to master this shot. You know, it has to peek over this monitor that I have in front of me. And depending upon how I use it, sometimes I actually flip it and it shoots into a mirror so I can point in the right direction for things, for the tutorials. And I always have to like zoom it in just a little bit, zoom it out just a little bit, zoom it in. Or if I'm using a prompter, zoom it in past the bottom of the prompter, zoom it out a little bit. Optical zoom wins the day. So I am from Karla, God's own country, state of India. Thank you very much for watching today from India. It's got to be like late in the evening, I would think, in India. I know Europe is 6-7 hours ahead, so that is 7 p.m. This got to be like 10 p.m. your time. That's got to be pretty late. I saw YoloMax on CES 2023 video and immediately buy it from YOLO Live China. Nice product, easy to use. Yes, it's an incredible product. It is really a purpose-built tool. And that's really like all of the YOLO boxes. They all really are like, if you need multiple inputs, you need a Pro. If you only need one camera input, like for doing sports on the sideline, get the Mini. If you want to do vertical, you get the InStream. If you want the big screen and ease of use, you get the Max. You know, if you need the content delivery network that you control, you get YoloCast. You know, each of the products is really situated so there's very little overlap. It's not like Sony DSLRs or in the point and shoot cameras and the DSLRs and the cinema cameras where there's a lot of overlap and it's really hard to pick this one or that one. And you know 6 months after you get it, they're going to come out with a new one. Because Sony just comes out with new models so fast. As opposed to Panasonic, which takes like 4 years to come out with a new model. Do you use an air duster to clean your ports? I don't. I suppose I could. I haven't. They mostly sit here on the desk with the ports filled. I suppose you could also find plugs and put little caps in there as well to keep them clean if you're in a dusty environment, situation, whether it be India or Southwest United States or something like that where there's a lot of dust, to keep them clean and from filling up with dust during travel, or keep them in a bag. Again, I made a video about travel bags on my AIBA Tech Thoughts channel, and I talked about I use Bubum bags. Not sponsored. They did not sponsor me. I have purchased all of my bags, and I've had many of them for years. I've seen people asking about how do you carry your YoloBox Pro, and I was like, well, I just came back from Hawaii, and this thing worked great. So let me tell you. Keeping it in a bag keeps it, free of dust and everything. Yeah, I was mostly thinking of turning off AFV and local video one audio and other stuff. Thanks, sir. It doesn't sound like templates are perfect yet. Yes, AFV, I know they're working on. And again, the YOLO Life team is very active in the Facebook group. If you aren't in the Facebook group, please join the Facebook group. They have actually posted questions saying, if we turn off audio follows video, how would you want the YoloBox to work? Do you want it to default to the audio to the first input? Do you want it to always default to the line input and then you have to change it? They asked for user feedback specifically about this one change that they're looking at implementing. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about the YOLO Live team is they are actively involved in the user group and they are actively soliciting user feedback. Let's go back over here. Atomos Zato is a device that can aggregate USB and other sources of audio. Yes, the Atomos Zato is a very powerful device. It is. Atomos and the metering on Atomos devices is amazing. Super accurate. The peak holds, 0 dB is 0 dB is 0 dB, before the device, input to the device, output to the device. That is just a beautiful feature. The ZV-10 is interesting too, but less compact and uses interchangeable lenses. I like it has USB-C, but still USB on the ZV-1. Yes, I've seen the ZV-10. It is interesting. It's more of a box camera. And if you were going to go to interchangeable lenses, I would just go to like a 6300 or something like that. Or like I says, I use GH4s. Actually, this is a GH3, but I use GH4s for my interchangeable lens cameras for that shallow depth of field. I didn't get the ZV-1 for the shallow depth of field. I got it for that autofocus capability. Because if I move closer 1 week, if I move a little further 1 week, I don't want to, it's hard to focus the camera when you're in front of the camera. I needed a camera that I could rely on nailing the focus every single time. Bulletproof. It's a great term we're using in the user group. The focus on the ZV-1 is bulletproof. If I hold this up, boom. If I put it down, boom. That's bulletproof. I can count on that. Sometimes, even to the point where I charge and the cable comes down and the camera says, "I'm going to focus on the cable." I'm like, I don't want you to, but you know how it's going to react. I hold this Lumix lens up and boom, you can see this is my 12-32. I put it down, boom, it's back on me. That's just super bulletproof performance. And that's all I ask of my gear is like, do what you say you're going to do reliably. Never fail. Just do what you say you're going to do. And the ZV-1 does that. My country time now is 12:30 a.m. Watching your live, forget sleep. I appreciate you being there. Thank you so much. I hope the content is interesting enough for you. Wow, I'm actually keeping people up past midnight. You can lower the bit rate. Oh, that would be interesting if you can lower the bit rate while streaming. I don't know. Let's go into this one. And well, I can't, push a stream. I purchased from Dubai the YoloBox Pro 2 months back. Yes, the Pro is the current top of the line unit, and that is what I'm using to do this stream with all these inputs, with the overlays, with the green screen replacement, with the picture-in-picture, so you can see me and the Pro or the camera if I want to show you the camera. And let me go back over here and turn this so you're just looking at the program out. So, and so I'm using the Pro to do this show. And I like the fact that it's got the 3 inputs, and I have used the little dongle. People have had mixed success with this $17, $20 US dollar HDMI video capture dongle. Mixed success. The ones I have from like 4 years ago work fine. But lately I've seen people say that it doesn't work for them. So again, all that stuff is just being made for pennies and, cost savings over time. Somebody may have changed the processing chip and, oh well. Stuka Joe says Instacam. Yes, actually there is an Instacam. There is the Verticam. And if you haven't seen it, YOLO Live, the company, has released a camera made for vertical, and it's a pan tilt zoom vertical camera. I'd love to see them come out with a horizontal version, or just let me rotate the bezel. But it's a vertical camera that will save multiple presets, so you can have close shot, wide shot, look over here, look over there. You can have all of those things saved, and the remote will handle 4 cameras. even though the in-stream only has 2 inputs. So, and a USB, so technically 3. But yeah, they have a vertical PTZ camera called the Vertic Cam. I have seen a couple people purchase the Vertic Cam and they get annoyed that it doesn't do horizontal. And I'm like, nowhere in the marketing of that camera does it say horizontal. It is a vertical camera. Excuse me while I wipe my nose a little bit. Again, I'm not feeling the best of weather here today, so I apologize if it's more subdued of a show than normal. How is it possible to connect mobile phone to YoloBox Pro? Well, I've got one right here. Connected. Is it still on? It is. So if I select iPhone. Oh, yeah, that's the iPhone. Okay, so that is the iPhone with what, the 2X? Yeah, that's the 2X lens. Here is the main lens. Actually, you know what? I'll take it out just to like show you. So this is the screen I'm looking at. And I can spin it around. And this is me. And here you can see this app called ProCam allows me to choose between the 3 lenses. And it gives me a clean HDMI output that I'm using with this dongle to an HDMI cable, which goes into, well, actually goes into the original YoloBox, and then the output of the original YoloBox goes to the YoloBox Pro. It goes to the ATEM, to the, there's a lot of things going on here. I have 8 cameras. So that is one way you could use the, and it's not limited to iPhone. iPhone, Android phone, doesn't matter. There are many ways to leverage phones as cameras. And again, as I mentioned before, the nice thing about the phones is they're doing a whole bunch of in-camera special sauce. You know, if the sky's too bright, they'll darken the sky. If this area is too dark, they'll bring that up a little bit. If it sees a face, it'll brighten the face, you know, and it knows, you know, this is what, if you're pointing at a person, you want to see the person, you know, it knows that. So you're leveraging that, you know, I don't want to say it's AI. It's not AI. It's just computer processing, you know. It's, you know, artificial intelligence is when it decides to do something on its own. It doesn't. These things are just doing what we told them to do. So that's not artificial intelligence. So this thing has capabilities that my DSLR does not. If my DSLR only has 13 steps from darkest to brightest, it only has 13 steps. Whereas the iPhone, if the sky is way up here, it's actually going to take that part of the image and bring that down so the sky is visible and it's not blown out. And if my face is kind of dark, it's actually going to brighten that up on its own. So you could do that. And then also, if you look at the YouTube channel, there is a tutorial on how to use your phones wirelessly with the YoloBox. By leveraging, if it's an iPhone, you can use the Apple TV as a receiver, a wireless receiver, locally without using the internet. And if you have access to the internet, there's another video that I produced that shows you how to use your phones as wireless cameras, pushing to the internet and then coming back down from the internet using the remote guest feature in the YoloBox Pro. This way, if you were doing, let's just say, a marathon and you wanted to have somebody at the start line, which is 1.5 miles away, there's no way you'd get that camera locally. But if it's got a cellular connection, it could push to the internet and then I can pull down from the internet and I can get that camera as if any other input. So when I cut to that thing, and at that one point you would want to use audio follow video, when you go to that camera, then it's going to bring in the audio from that camera. Hey, we're here live at the starting gate and they're about to go off. Ding, and there they go. And then we cut back to, you know, the announcer's booth. And that's how you can utilize 2 different ways, or 3 different ways you can utilize your mobile devices, not just iPhones, iPhone and Android, with a USB-C output, USB-C to HDMI, and then just use the right app. And old phones are so easy to find. They make very compact little cameras. They're not going to give you a long zoom like this. They're not going to give you a shallow depth of field like this, but they are definitely good choices. I feel they're good choices. And when I did the broadcast from Hawaii, the fact that it was able to, like, you know, fix the image and bring up the darks and bring down the background, I actually wanted that. and none of the other cameras I had could do that. So it has certain specific features that other cameras do not. So again, it is like picking the right tool for the job. You know, there's many different cameras, all have different feature sets. And, you know, so if you're doing a soccer field or basketball and you want to follow somebody and broadcast the game, you're going to want this. If you want a nice shallow depth of field, you're going to want that. If you're going to want a really small knockaround camera that gives you a little bit of choice in lens, you want that. If you want the smallest camera, you're going to want a webcam. Those are my opinions, but we're talking cameras today. What light fixture is your front light? I have a video. Why do I always say I have a video? Because I do. I have a video on this light. This is actually a 1 foot by 4 foot. I'm not going to be able to do metric for that. It's this big. Soft light for a ceiling that I have mounted in front of me on a dimmer. So I can dim it and get the right difference. And I chose this light because it's soft enough so that I don't cast a shadow on the green screen behind me. Whereas if I picked a single light, then I would have a very distinct shadow on the, or if I had 2 lights, I would have 2 distinct shadows on the green screen. This big soft thing is just a wash of light. David McFly says, I love using phones because sometimes when you want to be discreet or very mobile, it's very easy to carry. Yes, it is. I actually just went on a trip, and that's why I got this Moment case, because I brought the phone with the Moment lenses. So I had the super wide, the normal, the telephoto, and then I had an extra telephoto. And then I actually brought an anamorphic. So I was doing super anamorphic. It was a 1.55x, and I was doing still and video super stretched, which is pretty cool. Would love to see your videos on lighting for live streams. I don't really know if I have videos for lighting for live streams. I could do a video for this one, and I did. It's on the Aiba Tech Thoughts channel, and I can't show it to you. Oh, wait, I do have one. Where's my yellow? There's my yellow. So I am actually going to bring that up, only because it's been asked for. And I know we're running 10 minutes over, but I hope you're okay with that. So let me call this up. And let me call this and here. And here you go. This is my YouTube channel. It's Aiba Tech Thoughts. And there's the gear bag down here. And then over here is labels. I show you how to label your YoloBox because it's got 3 of those ports right in a row. And the light. There's a lot of things I do about streaming. There's vMix, there's NDI, there's Bird Dog, and there's using a cellular modem. There it is, the 4-foot LED soft light right there for $45 on sale at Costco. I will admit that I've gone back to purchase more and it's not available at Costco anymore, which kind of sucks for me because I wanted 3 more of them. But now it's not, so I have to find something else from somewhere else. Please, one more time, explain mobile phone connect to YoloBox Pro. There are 2 videos on YouTube. Let's see if I can get here. We're going to go to YOLO Live Tech, and we're going to go back to here. So if you're on the YOLO Live videos, and we scroll down, here's one right here. How to turn your cell phones into wireless cameras right here. And then you scroll down a little bit more. Again, all of these videos are tutorials. They're actually in a playlist as well. And right over here, down here, phone camera as a wireless connection. So those 2 videos right there are available on the YOLO Live Tech YouTube channel. This channel will tell you about using wireless locally and wireless through the internet at length. So they will tell you everything. Let's see. I see a future with ChatGPT choosing between cameras, generating captions, and graphics live when linked to a YoloBox stream. Possibility. It is definitely a possibility. There's, software that already automates editing in that, like GoPro and other action cameras, sync to the cloud and then automatically cut stuff what they think is the best shots and then give you a compilation already. Stutka Joe says, ProCam, Filmic Pro, and Cinema P3 are all apps with clean HDMI. I recommend you check out Cinema P3. Yes, multiple apps on Android and iOS are able to give you the capability to output through HDMI of the camera right here, the video feed of the cameras with no overlays. So it's just a camera. Are you using the A10 Mini for switching between cameras? I'm using the A10 Mini to switch between the iPhone, the laptop, the camcorder, and the DSLR. And then I'm using, that goes into the original YoloBox, which I'm using to switch between my straight camera, this one, it's actually sent to both devices, and whatever the ATEM outputs so that I could, do things with it. And then the output of the original YoloBox goes into the Pro, which also has my main camera with a green screen replacement. So there's a lot going on here. 3 mixers, 8 cameras, and we've made it an hour and 14 minutes, and it has all worked. Knock on wood. Let me finish up the comments, and we'll wrap up today's show. Through an HDMI live roll-in studio and through an HDMI adapter. That is what I'm using on this iPhone right here. It is physically wired. So if I pull on it, it'll move the phone. It's physically wired to my ATEM. And it is running off the internal battery, and the internal battery is also powering the converter, and that's it. That's all I got going on. One event starts 1080, but some network issues. How to go to 720? Is it possible? What I have done is I've hit the stream stop button, and then it says, do you want to stop or do you want to pause? If you pause the event and switch the resolution real fast and then restart it, as long as you haven't told your content delivery network to stop the stream instantly, it'll wait for a couple seconds. YouTube, I've had wait, like 5 minutes or something. It will wait until the data comes again and it'll resume streaming. So you can, step back, make a change, and then, get back into the stream. Mode auto switching displayed. A mode with auto switching of displayed video sources according to which device generated last audio signal, like a Teams meeting, would be a cool feature, at least when using the web invite feature. That would actually be pretty cool. I agree. And it's actually been mentioned in the user group because there's audio follows video, but there's not video follows audio. And then you kind of get into a whole lot of extra programming you got to do. So if somebody coughs, it doesn't automatically switch over to somebody else and interrupt the person talking, and you'll see, like I was just in a Teams meeting that, the person's talking and they've got this box around them and someone else starts talking, it's underlined. And when they keep talking, then it switches to them. So there's a delay to the auto switch to make sure that it's not just a fast, cough or something like that and switching away. It lets that stuff go. And then it stays on the person whose audio keeps going. So there's it's not artificial intelligence, it's programming. It's certain programming that you would have to go in there and dial in and get just right and everything to make the audio follow the video. But definitely I could see that. But again, if you're doing something that is all remote, the YoloBox Pro is not an all remote type of switching device. It can do it, but it has physical inputs for a reason. It has a touchscreen for a reason. If you want to do something that is all in the cloud, then use a cloud switching tool, because use the right tool for the job. And those cloud switching tools can give you more capability. And, if you're in front of a computer and stuff like that, that makes it easy. And you can run those without a whole lot of horsepower on your end, because it's the cloud that is actually doing the processing, not your device. Whereas the YoloBox is doing all of it. So it has to bring in all of those feeds and switch between them. And then the more you ask it to do, the tougher it is to do all that you're asking it to do. So I know when I have my pre-show, and I started doing weeks ago, I would have a pre-show with 1, 2, 3, 4 graphics over here, a live graphic, a countdown graphic, the picture with a green screen. I brought the Pro down to like 18 frames a second because I was literally asking it to do too many layers. I was asking it to do too much. And so I've changed to using the graphic with just me in front of it as the pre-show, and that makes for a smoother process when I do that. Does it need an app on or phone settings only? It needs an app because the iPhone does not give you clean output by itself. I mean, it does of the phone screen. Whatever's on the phone screen, it'll give you, but that's not what you want. You just want the camera feed, so you need an app for that. So cool to tip about hot switching to 720. I haven't tried it, but so take that with a grain of salt. With all the cameras you're using, are you confident of filming Beyonce concert in the future? Thanks for the fabulous video. Oh, sorry, I didn't put that one up. If Beyonce wants to ask me to film their event, sure, but I probably wouldn't do it with a YoloBox because I would have many more cameras, and I would be asking it to do a lot more. So I have a TriCaster, I have 2 vMix kits, I have several more high-end things, and when Beyonce does things, she's doing broadcast, so that's even like 2 levels higher. That's like NFL production truck type of thing, where you've got dozens and dozens of people all working on different aspects of the show. It's not a YoloBox type of thing. For now, the Teams thing is manageable now by actually using Teams or Zoom on a phone with HDMI out connected to the YoloBox. But yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, that'd be a great way to do it too. Let Teams do the auto switching and then just bring the output into the YoloBox. That's a fantastic way to do it. You know, you'd even might call that a hack, even though technically you're using every device the way it's supposed to be used. You know, that's one of my pet peeves, calling something a hack when you're actually like, oh my God, I found a hack to get USB into video. No, you're just using this the way it was meant to be used. Thanks very much for your valuable class. I appreciate you. God bless you. Praying for you. Good night. Yes, good night. It's after midnight. Actually, it's after 1 a.m. for you, I guess. I streamed a pub quiz with 2 cameras, used music from the MP3 player as one audio source, which I mixed with the voice of the game show. Where did that go? Game show host. I think YoloBox should add fade in, fade out for audio mixing. If you are mixing in external audio, I don't know if it's going to know that you want that faded in and faded out. I mean, where I would like to see a fade in and fade out is with the music that's already in the YoloBox, and I use it for pre-show. So when it gets to the end of the pre-show, I would like it to fade the music out as opposed to reach 0 and then just cuts it off. Wherever it's at, the audio is off. That's just the way it is right now. But yeah, I would love to see an audio fade there. But again, you're asking it to do, now you're asking it to dynamically adjust the levels, which is another process. That YoloBox made me want to buy a green screen. It looks so easy. Can we use another key color? Like if I have a monochrome colorful sheet, could I try it with that? The YoloBox does green or blue, which are the 2 most standard colors for green screen. You would use blue green screen if you have green in whatever is there, like they use with Guardians of the Galaxy. They have green in their outfits, so they usually do blue green screen. And you do green green screen if you have blue. Look, see, this is blue. You know why you can see it? Because it's a green screen. But if you have a magazine with green and yellow, which has a lot of green, and you do a green screen, you don't see it because it gets keyed out. So you have to be aware of what you're going to be dealing with when you do green screen. And thusly, I have answered all your questions. I hope today has been entertaining, informative, and another good show. We have gone 20 minutes past the hour, which is the longest we've run, but I thank you all for being here. The YoloBox made it. I made it. Again, sorry, I got a bit of a cold, woke up this morning not feeling great at all. But thank you all for sticking in with me. My name is Anthony Barocas here for YOLO Live. And again, if you are watching on YouTube, please join the official YOLO Live user group on Facebook. Lots of great content, lots of people helping, and the YOLO Live team are involved in the group and ask users for ideas and take suggestions from users. If you have a problem that can't be solved there, you can go to support@yololive.com. And if you're watching on Facebook, the few of you who might actually be watching on Facebook, there's a great YOLO Live Tech channel on, I always get this wrong because it's not flipped, on YouTube. And you will find these live shows all the way back to the beginning, as well as tips and tutorials for the YoloBox, the InStream, YoloCast, and more. So you can find all of that on the YouTube channel. It's almost like taking a masterclass in the YoloBox. So with that, I am going to say adieu. Thank you all for being there. I love doing these shows with you. I love answering your questions. I love, finding out your thought process, and I love speaking to people around the world about the YoloBox. I will say, once I go to the right thing, I will say you have a good rest of your week.